Hello everybody, Keith here again. I haven't posted for a while. I've not had much maintenance to do, so it's not really been worth doing anything. I don't want to post videos for the sake of doing it. That's going to spoil it for me. So I thought I'd leave it until I got something to show you, and this is, I think, a reasonable time. I've got something like 10 or 11 orchids in flower at the moment, so I'll have a look at each of those. And then I've got another one which I'm going to do and post in the next few days, I think, which will be a catch up on a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, some of the repots and the Cattleya that I deflask, and Myris trapeze and what have you. I'll do one on those in a little while. So let's start with the Phalaenopsis, and here we've got Pink Twilight, which I've had for a couple of years. It's a big plant, as I think you can see. Very pretty, large flowers, not too garish. I quite like that one. Just wish it wasn't quite as big. It's a bit on the big side for a windowsill. This one I bought as Leodoro. It probably isn't, because Leodoro is supposed to be fragrant and this one isn't. But it's still an extremely pretty flower. This is, as if anybody didn't know, is Mini Mark. It's one of my favourite Phalaenopsis, and one that I grabbed as soon as I saw it. It's one of those that I can't stop it flowering. I wanted to cut things back, trying to get it to go into vegetative growth, very much as I did the Pink Twilight. I did exactly the same with that, because they've been in flower a very long time, and what does it do? No more than stick out another spike, and away we go. And then you come down to this one. This is the last flower on my Phalaenopsis equestris. I've only had this around 12 months. Got it from Burnham's. It's its first flowering. Hasn't lasted tremendously well. I don't know how long these are supposed to last, but it's grown well. We've had several new leaves and lots of new roots, so that's doing very well, and I'll look forward to seeing that in the fullness of times. And in fact, I like it so much I want to start looking for some other of the small Phalaenopsis. Okay, Zygopetalum. This, oddly enough, considering how difficult most people find them to grow, I got this as a rescue plant a couple of years ago, and managed to pull it round, and it's flowered several times for me now. It was supposed to be Zygopetalum sensations when I bought it. Somebody's identified it as Rhine Clown instead. It isn't scented, unfortunately. Hasn't done as well this year as some, but it has been repotted, and I did take one of the back bulbs off it to try and get it into a smaller pot, because I thought it was a bit over potted, and that may have set it back a little bit, but it is growing, and it's obviously pretty. I mean, those flowers are really, really big. It's like the size of the palm of my hand. Talking, not an awful lot to say about that. Again, it's not flowered as well as it has in previous years. It's probably because this has had a real mangling this time. I repotted it because it was really got vigorous and overgrown its pot. It split into 4. 2 of those went to Zana Rapper in exchange, which you've seen in some of the videos, and the 2 pieces that I've got are in the same pot, and they both flowered for me. Not tremendously well, but they have flowered. Now this one was identified by Steve Pask at the East Midlands Orchid Society using one of the Orchid Society of Great Britain, I think, or RHS possibly, orchid databases as Brassia Chieftain. Now, I don't know whether it is or it isn't, it was bought as a no ID, but this was the first of the spider orchids I bought. I walked straight past it in a garden centre and stopped dead and went back and had a little look, because the flowers are just astonishing, as are all the spiders, of course. Again, it hasn't grown brilliantly well this year, but it's a very, very, very slow growing plant, and again it's been repotted and trimmed. This is a plant that I've had to get used to its foibles. It was, when I got it, bigger spikes and all the rest of it. It put out a new growth, didn't root, and this seems to be typical of this one. It doesn't root until the pseudobulb is really well developed, and that was quite worrying for the first time that happened. And it's done exactly the same this year. It only tends to grow one thing each year, but it's doing all right. It's quite happy, I think, doing its thing, and as long as it keeps ticking along the same way, it's such a beautiful plant. One a year, well, okay, we'll have that. A recent acquisition which I've been after for quite a long time now, finally got it earlier this year. This is Miltonia spectabilis variant Morelliana, although I believe in some quarters it's now classed as its own species, so Miltonia Morelliana. Another very, very large flowers, only has one on a spike. Well, this one's only got one on a spike, but it's holding on well. Beautiful looking thing, really interesting. Now, if we have a look round the back, you can see the spike and the sheath. I had to trim the end off the spike. I lost some blooms on my ordinary spectabilis because the sheath didn't break. So I cut the end off the spike when I could see the bulb was starting to form, and made sure by spraying it regularly that it was able to get out, and that's how it's developed. This is a Noncastile wildcat. Again, probably because it's been repotted this year, not done as well as it has other years, but this was the one I bought at exactly the same time as that Zygopetalum. They were about £1.50 each from the rejects table at the Dobby's Garden Centre, and it's good old faithful. It looks pretty, doesn't smell unfortunately, but it's an interesting little plant. It grows quite well, quite nicely. I'm quite happy with that. Now this is one I am very, very pleased with. This is my only black hair type Dendrobium. This is Frosty Dawn, and I bought that at the Bournemouth Society's 60th anniversary show in March 2019 from a company that had come over from Taiwan. I don't know anything about it. I don't know when it's supposed to flower. It flowers in the summer or in the winter or what, but it's put out 2 flowers, and they are, in my opinion, very, very pretty with that really deep orange contrast to the white. Where's it suddenly gone off? Out of focus. Deep orange against the white. And then we've got a couple that are definitely out of kilter, because these are nobly types. That's the one I tend to call my IKEA Dendrobium, because that's where I got it from. One of the spring dream types. Sometimes it has purple fringes on the petals and sepals. Not this time, not the previous time, but it did last time. So, odd little thing, one of its quirks. flowered out of nowhere, don't really know why, but there you go. And then there's this one. This is a Lady Coleman. It's a very old Dendrobium nobile hybrid, or nobile type hybrid. It actually hasn't got an awful lot of nobile in it, although it looks a lot like nobile proper. It was named after the wife, or for the wife I should say, of the Coleman's mustard empire. Registered I think in 1909. It's one of two I got. I bought at the same time. They were off the same mother plant. This one's grown extremely well. This is its first flowering. Its sibling hasn't grown as well, but it's flowered every January since I've got it. So you tell me why this one suddenly burst into flower, but I'm glad it has because it's a really pretty thing and it's lasting well too. Last but not least, Psychopsis mariposa. This one's got into quite a routine now. It sits on the windowsill, northeast facing, and it'll flower, hold a flower for a couple of weeks, drop it, and then 2, 3, 4 weeks later another flower will form, and it's just going into a routine now. It seems to be doing very well. We've got 2 new growths which are just opening the leaves and beginning to push on and put roots out. So I am very pleased with that too. So that's everything I've got in flower at the moment. Thank you for watching. I hope that's been of interest, and I'll see you soon. Bye.